Hello everyone, Monisha here. In this video, we will be completing transportation in human beings, which is a very important topic in life process. So this includes the blood circulation in our body, how our blood transports food, oxygen and waste materials in our body, the working of our heart, how the heart pumps blood to all our muscles, tissues and cells, and how oxygenated and deoxygenated, that is oxygen rich and carbon dioxide rich blood enters and exits our body, the blood vessels, the working of blood vessels and capillaries, and what is the meaning of blood pressure, and the maintenance of platelets, and at last what is a lymph or lymphatic drainage. So these are the things we are going to study in this session. Let us start. Transportation in human beings. The substances synthesized or absorbed in one part of the body is moved to other part of the body by a process of transportation. So for example, the substances like carbohydrates, oxygen, etc. Let us now know about blood and its components. So blood is a fluid connecting tissue which transports the waste materials, proteins, fats, everything to our body. So blood is said to be a homogeneous fluid. When you are wounded, blood comes out of that wound quickly because blood is a liquid and continuously flowing. So do you know how much blood you have in your body? It can be 5.5 liters or 5.6 or something. Fluids of the body. Cells of the body are serviced by two types of fluid. One is blood and second is interstitial fluid. That is the fluid which travels between the two cells. So blood is composed of plasma and a variety of cells. It transports nutrients and waste. Whereas the interstitial fluid, which can also called as a lymph, bathes the cell of the body. Nutrients and oxygen diffuse from the blood into interstitial fluid and then into the cells. But waste move in the reverse direction. Hematology is a study of blood and blood disorders. Come, we shall know about the physical characteristics of blood. The blood is very thicker or more viscous than water and flows more slowly than water. The temperature of a blood is around 100.4 degree Fahrenheit. pH is 7.4 or little bit in the range of 7.35 to 7.45. We know that if the pH is more than 7, it will be alkaline in nature and not acidic. 8% of our total body weight is blood itself. So blood volume 5 to 6 liters in average male and 4 to 5 liters in average female. Hormonal negative feedback system maintain constant blood volume and osmotic pressure. Let us know about the functions of blood. Transportation, oxygen, carbon dioxide, metabolic waste, nutrients, heat and hormones. Regulation, it helps regulate the pH through buffers. It helps regulate body temperature like coolant properties of water, or vasodilation of surface vessels dump heat. Helps regulate water content of cells by interactions with dissolved ions and proteins. And at last, protection from disease and loss of blood. Now we shall know about components of blood. There are 4 components of blood, mainly red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets and plasma. So how we have to see the components of blood? For that, we have to use a microscope because of these components can't see with naked eyes. Then you would see a lots of cells floating here. Most of them are red color. So that red color cells are considered as red blood cells. Now add a little drop of dilute acetic acid. Now you can see other blood cells. They are white blood cells. First we shall know about red blood cells. Red blood cells, also known as red blood corpuscles or erythrocytes. Erythrocytes have biconcave shape, that is a little bit hitch on the point of its surface, that is called as biconcave shape with the movement. Red blood cells are bigger in size. Red color of the red blood cell is coming from hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is made from hematine that consists of iron and protein. Oxyhemoglobin is formed by oxygen and hemoglobin in red blood cells. Now let us know about white blood cells. This is larger than red blood cells. However, the amount of white blood cells is low. This is also known as leukocytes. One white blood cell is 600 red blood cells. It is the comparison or the ratio of it. White blood cells are colorless and have nucleus. That is, 1 milliliter of blood is equal to 4,000 to 11,000 white blood cells. So that much amount of white blood cells is incapacitated in our body. Moving on to platelets. Platelets are very small and have no nuclei. These cells have granules. When you are wounded, blood will not come out of the wound continuously due to this blood clotting process. So due to this blood clotting process, and it is quickened by helpful component of blood called as platelets. This is why blood continuously not flow from our wound. Coming to blood plasma. Blood plasma is a liquid yellow color portion. It is around the blood cells. Blood plasma contains 55% of the blood and 92% of the water. Blood got a fluid nature because of blood plasma and is helping to regulate the body temperature also. Let us know about hemoglobin. It is an iron containing protein. It binds strongly but reversibly to oxygen. Each hemoglobin molecule has 4 oxygen binding sites. Each erythrocyte has 250 million hemoglobin molecules. Globin protein consisting of 4 polypeptide chains, 1 heme pigment attached to each polypeptide chain. Each heme contains an iron ion that can combine reversibly with 1 oxygen molecule. This is just for the information of hemoglobin. Let us move on to the next session. Now let us know in detail about blood vessels. So what are blood vessels? There are mainly 3 types of blood vessels: arteries, veins and capillaries. Let us know the function of one by one. Arteries and then arterioles, capillaries, venules and veins. So these are the structure of arteries and veins in our body. So what is the total length of blood vessels? Make a guess at the total length in kilometers of all the blood vessels in an adult human. It is around 1,100,000 kilometers. That's more than twice the distance around the earth at the equator. The next question is, do all blood vessels carry the same type of blood? The different blood vessels have different jobs to do. They will carry out different functions in carrying blood around the body. First, artery carries blood away from the heart. You can see the blood from heart, which is red in color here. And next, the blood to the heart. That is, from lungs, it will carry the blood to the heart. And from all over the body. Veins carry blood back to the heart. Next is capillary. Carries blood to and from the body's cells. From each and every cell of the body and around the organs, the capillaries are responsible to transfer and inject the blood inside that. Blood vessels. First, arteries. Carry blood away from the heart. It has thick muscular walls, lots of elastic tissue in wall, relatively small lumen, Blood is under constant high pressure because it needs to pump the blood from heart to all over the body. That's for there is high pressure in artery region. That's why it has a thick muscular wall. Next is blood flow in rapid rate, blood flow in pulses, and there is absolutely no walls. So this is the structure of the artery. The elastic tissue in the artery wall allows the vessel to give as blood surges through. So the artery wall first stretches as a result of high blood pressure, before an elastic recoil of the wall pushes the blood on its way. This swelling can be felt as the pulse where arteries travel near the skin surface. Next, moving on to veins. It carries blood back to the heart. It has a thin muscular wall. Why? Because it doesn't have a function to perform to pump blood all over the body. Since it is taking all the blood from the body to the heart, it don't have that much of pressure. Therefore, it has a thin muscular wall. Little elastic tissue in the wall, relatively large lumen, blood under low pressure, blood flow is slow, and walls prevent backflow of the blood. So this is the structure of wall in human body. Blood flow in veins, walls. Veins have walls to prevent backflow, whereas the arteries don't have any wall. When blood flows along veins, it pushes past the walls, which can only open in one direction, so that to avoid the backflow. If blood in the vein does flow backwards, it is trapped by the closed walls. Comparing the cross section. Compare the cross section of vein and artery. Veins do not need to keep blood flowing quickly at high pressure, and so they have much thinner walls than arteries. Next, we have to know how our heart works. The function of our heart, how it takes oxygenated blood and give out deoxygenated blood. All this we will now know in the next slide. The heart is one of the main component of circulatory system, and its function is to pump blood through the body. So we shall go through a quick overview of how blood flows through the body and through how heart works. So we start with the lungs, which first pick up the oxygen and then flows to the heart, from where it is pumped throughout the body to different parts of the organs and tissues. And in organs and tissues, the blood drops off oxygen and picks up carbon dioxide. The blood then flows back to the heart, where it pumps to the lungs. In the lungs, carbon dioxide is dropped off and oxygen is picked up, and thus the blood has completed its cycle, and it will continue its cycle again and again. Now, back to the heart. So heart pumps oxygen-rich or oxygenated blood to tissues and organs, and it pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Now take a look at the components of the heart. I will name the technical terms of various parts of the heart on the screen. So let us take it as left side and right side of the heart. The heart consists of 4 chambers and 4 valves, as you can see here in the labeling. These are pulmonary arteries, which carries the oxygen poor or deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. Here, the pulmonary veins, which will carry oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart. One note here, the arteries and veins are just mentioned are kind of backwards, and everywhere else in the body, the arteries carry oxygenated blood and veins carry the deoxygenated blood. The pulmonary veins and arteries are the only exception. So next, in the aorta, which is the largest artery in the body, and it carries oxygenated blood to the upper and lower regions of the body. The last part of the diagram is vena cava, which transports the deoxygenated blood and which carries the blood in the heart. So what is going to happen in the chambers, I number 1 and 3, it's going to fill the blood. So the chamber number 1 is filled with oxygenated blood, and the body in the chamber 3 with oxygen blood coming from the lungs. As this happens, the walls A and D starts open and the blood starts to flow to chamber 2 and 4. Next, the muscles of the chamber 1 and 3 contract and the same forcing the remaining blood into the chambers number 2 and 4. Then the muscles of the chamber 2 and 4 will start to contract and this increases the pressure on the blood in the chambers. This increased pressure causes valves A and D. The muscles contraction continues, thus B and C are forced to open. The blood is then ejected from the chambers 2 and 4. The blood from chamber 2 flows through valve B and to the pulmonary artery and eventually to the lungs, and the blood from the chamber 4 flows through valve C and the aorta, which sends the blood to organs and tissues. Now we shall know what are platelets and what are its importance in our body and the function of platelets. The platelets work as a repairing agent. So when we have some cut or wound, the blood starts flowing. A cut damages the network of blood cells and starts leaking, because a leakage is such a closed system would lead to loss of blood. In addition to leakage, it also led to the loss of pressure and thus reducing the efficiency of the pumping system. So what exactly happens when there is a blood loss? So in our blood vessels, that is in our blood, there are 3 components: red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets. To avoid the blood flow, the blood has platelet cells which circulate around the body. And one more component, that is a clotting factor, and then the yellowish plasma liquid. So these are the components. So when there is some type of accident of wound or cut in our body, when the blood vessel breaks, the platelets gather in that area and help to seal off the leak of blood by platelet aggression. Sometimes the platelet plug is enough to stop the bleeding. However, if the wound is very much large, other protein called clotting factor are recruited to the site of injury to clot in order to avoid the loss of blood flow. Platelets release chemicals that cause the clotting factor to form a mesh of fibrin fibers across the wound. Thus, platelets and fibrin fibers stick together for a clump. Lymphatic system. Did you know our body has its own version of sewage system for removing unwanted toxins, waste and excess water from the body? This is called a lymphatic system. Like our blood circulation, our lymphatic system is made up of millions of vessels that branch all around our body, as our arteries and veins carries blood. Our lymphatic muscles are much and much finer and carries a colorless fluid called lymph. Our lymphatic system has 3 main duties. First, it contains a white blood cells called lymphocytes which are used to fight infections. Second, it acts as a one-way drainage system transporting fluid from body tissues into the blood circulation. Third, it gets rid of the waste products produced by the cells. And fourth, as the blood circulates, the body plasma leaves the blood vessel and enters into the tissue, delivering food, oxygen and hormones to the cells. There, plasma becomes a tissue fluid and surrounds the tissue and then collects the waste products, excess water and toxins from the cell. 90% of this fluid passes back into the blood circulation. However, 10% of the fluid is left behind and this is known as a lymph. We therefore need a system to drain this lymphatic fluid so that we don't end up with the swollen fluid balloon. Hence, the lymphatic system, the lymph fluid drains into the lymph vessels. Then it travels to lymph fluids which are found all around your body. To stop that flow, the lymph vessels have a one-way walls and muscular walls that contract to force the lymph forward. This is happening in millions of lymphatic vessels in your body every minute, every day. The lymph fluid filter the lymph, destroying and trapping any harmful. The lymph nodes containing white blood cells or lymphocytes which attack and kill bacteria, viruses and cancer cells. This filtering and destroying is very important part of our immune system and stops nasty substance from fed back to our bloodstreams which would make us sick. The waste products and destroyed bacteria are then carried by using lymph fluid through larger lymph vessels up to the neck, where the thoracic duct empties the lymph back into the blood circulation. The bloodstream then removes the waste products from the body as it does with other waste. As well as the lymph fluid, our lymphatic system also includes few organs like spleen, thymus, tonsils and adenoids. This is all about lymphatic system. Let me tell you a funny science fact that just like human beings, earthworms also have heart, but not one heart. Some earthworms have 5 pair of hearts and some have 0 and some have 10. So this is the funny fact and also sometimes a serious fact about worms. If you have any doubt, queries about this video, kindly comment me on the comment section below. Thank you.